Sit back and relax for an evening with the Thamesmen.
Hello,
George. How are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I am Alex, and I am in San Francisco.
I'm George. I'm in Los Angeles.
Do you have to put your hand up? Because I put my hand up.
Can I go to the bathroom, please? No. I had to ask you something about, you say San Francisco. I was listening to the radio today.
Yes.
And there was this article. It was quite good, actually. And it was about talking about fashion in San Francisco. And you say how everyone always wears the same things. And this was talking about Patagonia waistcoats. Apparently, everyone in San Francisco wears Patagonia waistcoats. So much so that all the VC funding people were getting it with their logo on. It was like the whole thing. Patagonia now does not make it with logos anymore because it became so many of them. And they went and interviewed a guy in a park in San Francisco who was probably playing frisbee with his dog or something like that. And they sort of like said to him, and so, he was wearing obviously a Patagonia waistcoat. And said, so is this a thing? He's got, I don't know if you should like label me like that. That's not my identity. But is that true? Is everyone wearing Patagonia waistcoats?
Yeah.
Do you have one?
So if you didn't know, everyone in San Francisco is dressed like they're going to go on a hike. And the reason for that we wear the waistcoat, the Patagonia waistcoat, and I am slightly different. We have them here in the house. I actually have Barbers. The barber waistcoats. But the reason is, and what they didn't go on about, is the weather. So in the morning, San Francisco, the weather changes quite quickly. It's from when the fog comes in, and with a full blown coat, it gets too hot. But with a waistcoat, you're always cool enough, but then you could tuck your hands in, and it's the perfect coat for the fog.
And you could go off and gas a badger afterwards, can you?
Well, in a barber, you can.
You got your secret pocket. You can drop the dead rabbit in. Is that the one?
There is a. God, we've got way late already. Because
I'm sorry. That was my mistake. I heard it today. It was fascinating, and I was just like,
Yeah.
Anyway,
there you go, everyone. Well, there you go. That's welcome to the fashion show of San Francisco in 2022. Patagonia vest.
Most bizarre. I had to ask you. It suddenly just came up. Anyway, so we're actually talking about Australia. Aren't we? Yes. Aussie.
We are in the middle, and we're on with the very last day. We're on the last day of Australia week.
But we can always revisit another day because we are only touching on Australian music. Obviously, 5 days is definitely not enough to cover the whole sort of gamut, the whole spectrum. So we just have a little taste. And our friend Chris has given us a great list of stuff, and we're going to end up on day 5 on something a little bit different.
Well, what it does is it gets us out of our little bubble, because here in America, we think we run the music market. Over in England, we think we're the best musicians in the world. So actually having a list made for us from another continent is absolutely brilliant. Go back and watch the other 4 days. They're tracks I've never seen or heard, I do apologize, that have just blown my mind. Absolutely brilliant. And today, what have we got today, sir?
Well, apparently the artist is a guy, Paul Kelly. Track's called Deeper Water, and it's off an album from 1985. And I think it's a performance a bit later than that. But and apparently the album was called Deeper Water, and he is apparently the Australia's equivalent of Bob Dylan, like a singer-songwriter, storytelling songs with a conscience. He's been around since the 70s, but he really sort of hit his mark in like 85. And apparently his band was called Paul Kelly and the Coloured Girls, which is like a nod to Lou Reed, which you'd like, I'm sure.
From when Walk on the Wild Side.
Yeah.
And all the Coloured Girls go. It seems like every country has got their localized Bob Dylan. So it like Scotland, Donovan. You know, that's as much as I can think at the moment.
England, Billy Bragg.
Yeah, he's the English kind of working class Dylan. I wonder if we can find a Bob Dylan in every country.
I bet you can, because it's a sort of it's a sort of, could be a subtle way of protest and a subtle way of like telling stories and bringing things to people's attention. Like apparently Paul Kelly works also with lots of Aboriginal communities to bring their stories to the fore and their music and things like that. So I think it's a great way to highlight issues. I think just without having to pick up a sword or a mace and beat someone over the head, you can kind of do it in a slightly more subtle way with through song and lyric. So
Thing is, Bob Dylan, going back into his catalogue, I've recently just gone back into his catalogue. I thought you forget how good he is, you know.
Yeah, no, he has some amazing stuff. So yeah,
we should do Dylan year. Right, okay.
Do one song a day, you know.
Exactly. So. Let's go into Paul Kelly and check this out.
Yeah, no. So apparently this is from '95, album of the same name, Deeper Water, and a tale of love and loss by the ocean. Nice. We've also got to look out. Apparently, like there's backing singers, Vika and Linda Bull, who apparently are the artists in their own right as well. So
good. Looking forward to this. I tell you what, the Australia, you've got a thriving music scene that is just 1 degree away from all the other kind of scenes that I know. It's exactly the same, but just Australian. It's brilliant.
It really has its own character, and it's all the better for that as well. So
brilliant. It's been a fantastic.
Thank you. Excellent,
right, Paul. Let's see if you can do this, and let's see if you really are the Australian Paul Kelly.
He is the Australian Paul Kelly.
Aha. Clever. I see what you did there, Paul Kelly.
Yes. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
3.
I'm the smart one of the two of us as well.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Nice guitar.
On a crowded beach in a distant town, at the height of summer, see a boy on fire at the water's edge, so nimble and free, jumping over the ripples, looking way out to sea. A man comes up from amongst the throng, takes a young boy's hand, and his hand is strong. And the child feels safe, and the child feels brave, as he's carried in those arms up and over the waves. Deeper water, deeper water, deeper water, call it mom. What she wants, she got her the hand. Well, the boy's got inside, I'm a man, deeper water, deeper water, deeper water, call it mom. The woman loved a man one night in the dark. She grabs hold of his hand. She's thick and you feel it kicking inside. And the man gets a shiver right up and down his spine. Deeper water, deeper water, deeper water, call it mom. clock moves around, the child is a joy, but death doesn't care. Just to it destroys. Now the woman gets sick, things down to the bone. She says, where I'm going next, I'm going alone. On a distant beach, lonely and wild, and later time, it's a man and a child, and a man takes a child up into his arms, takes her over the breakers where the waters come, deeper water, deeper water, deeper water, deeper water.
Yeah.
Nice.
Whoa.
He's great.
He's got a better voice than Dylan.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
That was joking aside, that was really, really, really great.
Yeah, no, I think I would definitely like to hear some more Paul Kelly. He was really interesting. Really, again, you like I said, like 1 degree different, which you can't quite put your finger on, but all their own. Absolutely great songwriting, great song.
I was really trying to listen to the lyrics because if he's lyric first, and there was some great lyrics about the cork on the tide and stuff. And I really would like to sit down with a decent set of headphones and read the lyrics and go through as well. I love, well, first of all, as I said, I loved his Sunburst, a Lyrica 355 Gibson. I love that guitar.
Yeah,
he got a great voice, and the band were really fab as well. And I love the backing singer.
Yeah. No, it was just a great performance, great song, and I think that was a great way to sort of wrap up our week of Aussie music. But I think we could do some more. I think if we get a lot of likes and subscribes from Australia, we could look for some more Aussie music for sure. I think because it's all been good so far, all positive.
Definitely like to listen to some more of him.
Yeah,
because he seemed to have normally when you react and we're listening to tracks that we don't know, you have to have an instant hit, and he didn't go for that. He seemed there's another level that we could get into him with his lyrics and maybe his messaging, and you can't get that in your first listen. So I'd like, well, if there are any other of his tracks you think we should do, maybe a studio track as well, I really would like, if you could put it down there. I'd love to follow some more stuff of his.
Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. I think that was so. What have we taken from our week of Australian music so far? What have we learned? What do you think?
Oh, big question. I'll go first, and then you and then I'll pass over to you. Well, first of all, I totally underestimated the depth of songwriting and the level of musicianship that's coming out of Australia. Obviously, it's a big country, but you get stuck in your own bubble. There are bands we've listened to that have just been utterly brilliant. It's very hard to find the genie that's in the bottle to make it Australian. They all sound Australian. They all have something which is just slightly to the right. And I just don't know what that genie is, but it is magic.
Yeah,
keep it in the bottle, Australia. Keep it in the bottle, because you've got your own scene. And for two guys peering from the outside in, it's a fantastic music scene. And music is very much alive in Australia. Yeah,
they have some. George? I know. I mean, obviously, some of those artists are from the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. What would be a band from like 2022? What would be an Australian band from 2022 right now that would be worth checking out? That would be really interesting. What's the sort of cutting edge of Aussie music right now? I'd really be interested. And I've always been a fan of Aussie music because I lived there for a while at a very formative time of my life. And I always thought there was something just a bit different. And I don't know if it was, where their cultural references came from in terms of musical references. So for example, like in Australia, they have a very strong country music scene, and you go, oh, country music. the country music is more folk music. There is an element of bluegrass in there, and there's things like that. But because of that sort of immigration from Ireland and England, and all of those sort of things, there is an underlying like folk country element, which I think imbibes some of their music. And I'm not saying they're folk songs you're hearing there, but just because I think some of their original roots, where like an American, their roots would be soul or blues, from the sort of the Delta blues or any of those sort of things. That was what led to their rock and roll and things like that. And I think Australia has something else pushing, which has just changed. I don't know. I have to write a dissertation.
I know you love your Australian music. We do over on our Patreon channel. We picked a favorite album each, and we picked 3 tracks, and we're doing all the other Patreon albums requests as well. And George's was the
Hoodoo Gurus.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you absolutely adore Australia and the Australian music scene from when you travelled down there. And
we did Midnight Oil. We did Channel 2 Midnight Oil, and through Chris's help, we got over 500 likes and a lot of views, and we did a lot more Midnight Oil. So that was, and I've got tickets for their last tour, which is ongoing right now, and they're playing in LA, and I can't wait. I kind of can't wait to see them, and incredibly sad that I'll never see them again after that if it is their last tour, which is just tragic. So.
Well, maybe we do this. Maybe if anyone is still here watching us wibble on, if there are 5 tracks to typify Australia, put them down there.
What are your 5 tracks? That's a really good idea.
And then we'll look for the crossover and the names coming up again and again, because I don't actually want to leave Australia week. I've enjoyed it so much. Yeah. So if there are another 5 tracks and we could spot a repetition down there and we could pick another week together, it would be our pleasure, because I would love to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Aussie Week Part 2, because we can't cover the whole thing in 5 days. So let's dive on. But anyway,
and you know what happens at the end of Aussie Week? Kazakhstan Week. So keep us away from Kazakhstan Week, because we don't want to do Kazakhstan Week.
I tell you, if we got to Mongolia Week, we just did a week of the Who again.
I love Mongolia.
That was a great track.
I love throat singing. I really do. I listen to throat singing when I work, so I'm all about throat singing.
A bit of Mongolian throat singing.
I actually got banned them, and I got really into Cambodian pop music.
Really?
Yeah. So I've had throat singing and Cambodian pop music banned from the car when we drive.
That's really bad. So, oh well, bad luck.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. That was awesome.
Like and subscribe. Put the tracks down there. And let's do Aussie Week Part 2.
All right.
Ciao.
See you later.